My name's Abby Bolton. I'm an IFBB fitness pro, so I've been a pro since 2019 now. I did my first Olympia in the 2022 Olympia, so it's already been over a year, which is crazy. And then I'm also studying to become a chiropractor, so I have just over a year left before I'm done there. One semester left of classes and then into clinic. And then I'm also undergoing my master's in anatomy as well, so that'll be wrapping up actually within the next semester or two.
The world of fitness and health and bodybuilding, it's getting so much more scientific. I think it's really exciting and really cool. New research comes out every day. I try to stay up to date on what's coming out, even if it's something kind of like, I kind of laugh at like a lot of it is like, that's obvious. We already know that. Like, why do you do research on that? But it's still cool that it's being done, and like there's money being put towards it, and all that kind of stuff. Cause advancements, that's how advancements happen. And I know that there's a lot of potential in that field, and just in the field of the human body, and the potential for performance and health in general. But for you, I mean, tell us a little bit about what you're looking forward to in regards to getting into the chiropractic field, and starting to just work with people, maybe more hands-on. I'm sure you've done some stuff already, but just in a more accelerated way.
For sure, yeah. So my passion has definitely grown for chiropractic. I started in sport performance, which I think we did talk about last podcast. I love training athletes. I love working with athletes, coaching athletes. I'm a coach, like an online coach right now, for lifestyle clients as well as kind of newer competitors. So going into chiropractic, basically my reason for it was I wanted to be able to help people, whether it's lifestyle athletes, from both spectrums, from the training, nutrition side, but then also like the rehabilitation side, staying healthy, keeping the body working well so that we can prevent injuries from all aspects. Because we know diet plays a role with that, proper training, mechanics play a role with that, but also just injury prevention in terms of making sure the spine is in alignment, the body's functioning well. If there's a restriction in, like, say, a bone or something, like, then you're changing your body's mechanics just day to day, what, like how you're sitting, how you're walking. So then that's going to obviously lead to training as well. And then you kind of, your body, if that's not in check or in line, your body's going to get used to poor habits of mechanics, if that makes sense, which you don't want to get used to, because then you're going to have muscle imbalance. And especially if we're talking about bodybuilders, muscle balance, and like that's everything, and just proper contraction of muscles and everything. So I'm really excited to get out into the field because I do want to blend the two. I want to be able to train athletes, but also, again, take on that role as a chiropractor, just to make sure that these athletes are in check and they're able to function at their best.
I think that people see chiropractic, physical therapy. Are you a personal trainer, online fitness coach, or gym owner on the verge of burnout? Are you wanting to grow your fitness business but can't add more hours to your hectic schedule? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today. Even to, I think, the realm of massage therapy, I think they see those things as like let me get to the point where I need these things, like I can't function, and then go to them. Do you see that there's any common or typical, not necessarily one that is actually maybe correct, but one that you just see or hear about as this is what people think are the right ways to go about it, when in reality it's maybe another way?
It's tough because I think, especially because especially for bodybuilders, like, it's an expensive hobby, it's an expensive sport. So especially if you don't have coverage for things like chiropractic, um, it can be tricky. It will be pushed because they're like, I don't want to. I have to spend money on my supplements, all this, but it's just hard to get their head wrapped around it. It's such a big component as well. They might not see it right away, but down the road, like, it could prevent an injury that might come up that you might not expect. So I do think it is, I want to say, probably a last priority for most individuals. Unfortunately, even stretching, like, we all know that stretching and foam roll, like just mobilization, that sort of thing, proper warm-ups, those are all very important, but a lot of athletes, at least a lot of athletes I know, they skip through it. because it's not a priority when it really should be. Like, that's time to better yourself. Even like when I was really big into the sport performance side of things and interning with that, one of the lead trainers that I was under, they used to press warm up so much. So there would be like a 5-step warm up that we would do, and everything had intention. So, and what they wanted to press was, yeah, it's just a warm up, but that's 15 minutes across like how many sessions you're doing per week, across how many months, how many weeks, how many months, how many years. That's a lot of time that adds up where you can actually get a lot of benefit and progress in terms of things like, 'cause even just mobilization or just like certain, we would do like prehab exercise to activate certain muscle groups to prime them for the lift so that when you're actually performing the lift, you're integrating the right muscle groups for that action that you're performing. But just little things. So a lot of it gets overlooked, but some of those little things that you overlook could end up make or breaking your career as an athlete, or again, just preventing injury and like your longevity in the sport, if whatever you're doing. Especially if you're referring to a bodybuilder or somebody in the gym, like they wouldn't skip a workout. It's hard to make like a lot of like even myself, it's hard for me to take a rest day. Like sometimes my coach is like, you need to take 2 days off the gym because like recovery is important, obviously. So if you're not recovering, but physio or chiropractic or just again, any type of just maintenance in your health, that is so important. It's an important piece of the puzzle. So it's like you wouldn't skip a workout. Why are you skipping this?
Is there anything like right now within the world of maybe chiropractic or just recovery in general that you're really kind of like stuck on mentally? Like, oh, this is a really cool new thing, or that just this idea is really cool and I'm kind of diving into it, or anything like that?
For sure. I'm trying to think. So the thing with chiropractic is it's so diverse. Like some practitioners, they adjust only. So spinal manipulation, that is all they do. So sometimes chiropractors, their practice is set up where it's literally they're spending 5 to 10 minutes per patient and it's like crack, crack, crack. I don't want to use the word crack, but it's just adjust what's needed to be adjusted and on to the next person. Whereas other chiropractors I've been to or shadowed, it's more like say anywhere from like a 30 to even like a 60-minute session with the individual. So it could be I had one, it was an hour session. I only got 2 adjustments, that was it. Then they did some soft tissue like active release mobilization. And then they actually took me to, they had like a little gym set up in their practice and went through different rehab exercises. So for me, like this is just a personal thing for me is as I go into clinic, it's shadowing all these different chiropractors. It's trying to figure out what I want to do. And because of the sport performance background, like I really love the rehab side of things and whatnot. But even some of the chiropractors I shadow or some of my professors, you see all these different like ART, Grashton, which is like when they scrape at the tissue, like all these different extra certifications you can get. And some chiropractors will say, don't even waste your time on it, more so because it's hard on our body. But at the end of the day, the individual probably get a really good benefit out of different modalities. So it's the hard part is like me as a practitioner, it's providing the best source of care, even if it's a little bit harder on my body, or like go a tradition, because obviously spinal manipulation, that is what chiropractic is. And that is where a lot of benefit comes in terms of like regulating the nervous system and everything. But there's so much more you can do with it as well. So that's kind of where I am at right now for personally. Outside of that, one big thing, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but one thing I've done differently for myself lately, and I've done it in the past and I just stopped doing it, and it's been made a huge difference for me over the past couple of months, is trace mineral drops. I don't know if you've ever like looked into that at all, but literally just adding mineral drops to your water just for digestive health, but just mental clarity, everything. It's unbelievable.
Anything that like correlates between the spine and like getting that I'm not sure the terminology, but let's just say straightened out, if you will, fixed up or whatever you want to call it,
Okay.
and improving like recovery quality.
So essentially, like when you get an adjustment done, it just the effect from it can have like just benefits on releasing certain chemicals for the nervous system. But obviously, if your spine's really out of alignment, most of the time, if it's severe enough, you're going to feel it. And it's more so that there's just going to be a nerve that's pinched or entrapped. So just keeping it realigned and whatnot, you're just going to alleviate any of that pain. Now, a minor, sometimes like you'll need an adjustment, but you feel fine. Like I've had times where I feel fine. And then I've had like classmates palpate me and they're like, whoa, like this is out. And they'll palpate it. I'm like, oh, that's sore. But I don't feel it on an everyday thing. But kind of going back to the function thing, for me, so which I'm kind of going off on a tangent again. As an athlete, being a student, it's pretty cool because a lot of the classes we've had the last couple semesters, it's all adjusting classes. So every adjusting, like we adjust each other 2-3 times a week. Maybe a little bit too much, but that's how we learn, right? So we'll sit there and we're palpating and trying to figure out what needs to be adjusted. And one thing I've learned from myself is I get very tight to the left, like everything's like rotated to the left. So I need a lot of adjustments to help realign me. So it's very interesting for me because I injured my right shoulder. So I start to piece things together. I'm like, I wonder if this is why like this is happening, but it's really cool to see how connected the whole body is. Cause even like my professor will come over and obviously he's been at it for years, right? So he can just sit there and like lightly touch and he can tell he's like, you're like hypertonic here. And it's not just stemming from up here, like behind the shoulder, it travels all the way down to your hip. So like it's not just in that one spot. So it's really fascinating just from a learning perspective. But then again, I'm applying it as an athlete. I'm like, okay, I'm obviously doing something repetitive wise where I've learned this pattern, or maybe it stems from an old injury where now when I'm training, like I don't know if I'm tensing up one side compared to the other. And it's just it allows me to be more mindful, and I just have to really think about form and whatnot just to make sure I'm really optimally getting the most benefit out of my training.
Like, what would be the kind of the law of diminishing returns in regards to someone seeing a chiropractic?
So again, it's very by the individual. It depends. Like if it's an individual who's actually in severe pain, like they've thrown out a disc or something severe. Because I've worked in a chiropractic clinic and sometimes they're literally there 5 days a week. They're there Monday to Friday, every single day. Sometimes it's not always an adjustment. Sometimes it is some sort of modality just to help ease the pain. But for maintenance individuals, some will go once a year. Again, it depends on their budget too. Once, like twice a year, so like every 6 months. That's a typical maintenance. For me personally, I think I would honestly like I'm so used to getting adjusted. I think every other week would be fine for me. Once a month would probably be ideal just to make sure, because I've noticed like I do like I need an adjustment every week almost. I don't need it, but there are things that are out of alignment that could be adjusted. Now, with the over adjusting, when I say over adjusting, getting multiple times a week for me because I don't really per se need it. What a lot of me and like my classmates will notice is we become very hypermobile. So like I'm like I wake up and everything's cracking and I twist, like things are constantly cracking. It's not that it's a horrible thing. It's the signs of cracking is actually better than if not. So it just shows that things are moving. But again, too much is too much. It's funny because when you think chiropractic, you think the cracks and the pops. But what we learn is like there's more than one way to adjust. So you don't have to, like if there's an individual who doesn't want to hear the crack or that pop, there are different ways to adjust where you will not notice that. And a lot of times actually you don't even hear the sound, like the crack, and you still get a benefit. So some people like they'll start associating with the crack with like a good adjustment. Not the case. Sometimes you don't hear a thing and it's fixed. Like you can like physically feel that, okay, the adjustment worked, you're good. They feel immediate relief. So there's so many like little things that are just right, like because you hear about it. That's what you associate with chiropractic, but there are big misconceptions.
Yeah, it's funny. There should be like a little placebo pop that is like
Yeah.
an audio sound that goes off when you're doing something.
Oh, that's too funny.
So obviously, like I said, we talked before, not too long ago, really, but
Yeah.
kind of fill us in on what's been going on your, being an athlete on that side of things, and the stuff that's coming up. And I definitely want to get into kind of some of the preparation for that. But for now, just fill us in on kind of what's been going on, and maybe some of the invitations and things that you've been receiving.
For sure. So yeah, so this is gonna be a big year, which I'm really excited about because I personally I like to compete a lot. I like to perform. I just love the experience, just being in that atmosphere with the athletes, backstage with like the fitness girls. It's just it's always a memorable experience, and you take away so much from it. So like this past year, 2023, I really took a step away from the stage, which was very hard for me, but it was needed. My body was not in a optimal place for competition prep. And I really found that out because I did one show at the end of the year. So the Ben Weider Natural Pro Show, that was November 17th. I did prep for that one. I was really happy with the final product. Was it my best physique? No, it was a different physique, but I wasn't as lean as I wanted to be. We were pushing hard. My body just was not responding the way I had hoped. And we started pretty far out too. So it was a learning experience. So coming out of the show, we made sure like we did a nice reverse, got the food up, and I've just set myself up for a much better prep for these shows coming up. So 2023 was it'll pay off for this year coming forward. I did get to guest perform a lot, which was really awesome. So I still got that like thrill of going on stage and performing and sharing my passion. But yeah, this year I'm really excited for because I've got a lot of things I want to accomplish this year, which is exciting. So first, the Arnold Classic. So I ended up applying for both the Arnold Classic USA and the Arnold Classic UK. I honestly wasn't expecting the USA only because I had applied the year prior after having a really amazing 2022 season. And I didn't get accepted for the 2023 Arnold. So applying for this one, I wanted to do it because I always go for opportunity, but I was like, I took all 2023 off. I only did this one show. It wasn't even my best, like routine wise, it was one of my best routines I've performed, but physique wise wasn't my best showing. So I was like, I don't know what they're going to look for. But I was like, I'm going to apply because you never know. UK, I was like pretty confident I would get it. So anyway, so when the USA announcement came out, like I almost started crying. Like it was because it's my first one. So the Olympia stage was obviously a huge accomplishment. And that was a big goal from day one was the Olympia. But second to that was the Arnold. That was another really major goal that I've had. So really excited for that. And then a couple weeks later, I think it was like 2 weeks later, maybe 1 week later, they announced the UK Arnold. So I was like, oh, okay, now we got two big shows in March. Now I have a trip to plan. So that's what's next on the agenda. So I'm super excited for that.
Are you a personal trainer who wants to scale and grow your business online? Have you been coaching online for years, yet don't know how to incorporate online into your current business model? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today. As a bodybuilder and someone who is very competitive and also seen success in the sport and then taking a step away, like how do you, I guess maybe partially some advice to people out there too and who need to do this, but how do you step away but also kind of keep that fire burning as hot as if you had something to specifically look forward to in that short term?
And that was the hardest part for me because I like to compete a lot, mainly because it keeps me in a good routine. Like not that I'm not in routine in the off season, but it just keeps me in just a different mindset because you're just constantly driving for this goal that you see it's in sight. Like it's in sight, it's solidified, there's an end date. And it's just that constant routine, that constant drive. But what I learned is you recovery, very important. And you do kind of reach that burnout point. And it wasn't so much mentally, I was exhausted a little bit. Like it was time for some like enjoyment with like spending time with family, friends, enjoying some food, like that sort of thing. But it was more like I could feel my body burnt out. Like by the end, I reached my best physique at the Olympia in 2022. But by the end, like I, the amount of cardio and training I was doing with like, I knew I wasn't eating a lot. And I had been doing that for months on end just to try and push like that extra conditioning. Like my metabolism by the end of that, I knew it wasn't in a great spot. So coming out of that and just being in the off season, there was actually shows I had planned earlier. And then just based on like the progress, like where my body was at, I just made that tough decision. I was like, you know what? It needs the rest. It like the stage is always there. And I think that's an important thing to remind people too, is the stage is always there. And you also got to consider like different things that are going on in your life too. Like say you have a wedding for like a family or friend. There's important life events that you want to make sure you're present and all in for those as well, because it is very hard on prep. Yeah, I've gone to many weddings where I'm in prep, but it's a different experience when you can actually go and eat with friends and family and that sort of thing. So it's there's there's times when you're in prep and there's times when you're not. So you kind of have to look at the light in both instances. Yes, we love prep, we love routine, but it's nice to be in the off season. You're still making progress, you're still doing what you love, you're still training, but then you're also getting that time to spend with loved ones, friends, enjoy different life experiences that are outside of bodybuilding. Because at the end of the day, yes, bodybuilding is a major part of my life and I am so grateful for it and I love it, but there are other aspects to life. And who knows, like some people only do bodybuilding for a short temporary span of time. So you got to have other outlets and other things that you enjoy as well for after.
Getting back into routine for you, I mean, was there a challenge there? Was it like an excitement to kind of jump back into it and be at this place again? What was that like?
So the night, like this was honestly, even though like physically, like my body was not in a spot I wanted it to be like for a chunk of off season. It was in a healthier spot, don't get me wrong, but my metabolism needed some fixing for sure. But I was still in a pretty decent routine. Like I had a coach the whole time, so I was on meal plan the whole time. Yeah, if I had an event, I'd have a meal, right? So there's that slight flexibility. But for 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I was eating on meal plan unless there was an event. Um, and then the other nice thing was because of all those guest performances I did throughout the year, it really kept me on track, like routine wise. So my routine endurance all year has been phenomenal because ever since my first guest performance was May, so I did one May, then I did one July, and then I did one October, and then I competed November. So that whole time I'm still practicing skills. I was practicing those skills at a heavier weight. So I was like, I think my max weight I want to say was like 146 maybe. So it's a lot harder to do these. It there's a give and take. It's harder for me personally to do the skills at a heavier weight. You do have a little bit more energy because you're eating more, but it's still harder because you got to flip and hold a lot more weight. So because I got the endurance up and whatnot at that heavier weight, as I started cutting down for the show in November, it just became easier as I went. And the routine was set. I was training the routine twice a week. I was still doing my weight training 5 days a week. Cardio, I was still doing, not as much, obviously, like in the off season, but still a little bit here and there. And then again, meal prep was the same. So I was in routine. And I think for me, it was just kind of nice because I still had those like little endpoints to kind of look forward to without having to get super shredded competition ready. I still got to go perform. I still was getting ready for something. So that really helped keep me on track. I'm not gonna lie. It was just something to look forward to. There are some fitness girls that I know who do, they'll wear like a weighted vest as they do jumps. So like certain straddle jumps and whatnot. You could wear like ankle weights for like certain handstand things, I guess. The only thing with it is it's not like you're distributing the weight across your whole body. So when you're in a handstand, if you're wearing big ankle weights, it's just going to be different because when you take the weights off, it's only the weight was only at one end. So but I think like a weighted vest for like jumps, 100%. Or even ankle weights for jumps because it like your feet, like that's what you're really lifting anyways. So I definitely think there could be some benefit for sure. And then the other thing is a lot of times fitness girls just won't fluctuate weight that much. So you think like the typical bodybuilder and whatnot, like some will get pretty heavy in the off season because they really want to put on some like quality tissue. Although you can put on some good quality tissue without getting too far off your stage weight. My first coach, Mindy, she used to always stay like within 10 to 15 pounds of stage weight. So I would prefer that. Typically I do try and stay within that like 10 to 15. After the Olympia, the 146, little too heavy for me, personally. So don't want to get back there just for comfort. And then again, it's more so for the skills. Like I could still do them all. It's just my mobility and the execution of some skills didn't flow as nicely, if that makes sense. So even just certain handstand skills, like because you're holding like more fat, more tissue, like your muscles are fuller too. So I honestly find routines and skills easier almost in a depleted state because my body, like my mobility's better. There's less inflammation. So yeah, just those like little things of difference between like a fitness competitor, say, compared to like a figure or another division is we got to consider that we still have to move our bodies in the off season.
Do you feel like part of that weight fluctuation at some point too is like is experimental, like trying to figure out like what is my body gonna do when I put on X amount of weight? Am I gonna be able to perform better? Or if I lose, maybe a little bit more weight this time, how does that like reaction take place? Like, is that a part of it at all, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Because that's the thing with bodybuilding is it's bodybuilding. You're trying to we're not just performing those routines. Yes, it's worth two-thirds of our marks, but we're still trying to put on muscle and create this physique because it is one-third of our marks. So at the end of the day, the goal is to be putting on weight and obviously changing conditioning. But that's again, for me personally, that's the biggest change I found this year is my 2022 season technically started December 2021. That was my pro debut. And that came off of like 2 years of COVID where gyms were locked down. I was still training. I was lucky I have stuff in my basement. Was it the optimal training? Probably not, like for optimal growth, probably not, but we made do with what we had. And then I was doing it all on my own at that point. So nutrition wise, I probably didn't get the food up high enough. So by the time I started my pro debut, I did a 10-week prep. I was already lean. So I could have been probably bulked up a little bit more to put on some more tissue. I started 10 weeks out, had a really easy prep, smooth, because my body was well rested, that sort of thing. And then from there, we went from that show and we did 5 shows in 2022. I really didn't take a long break to actually really dedicate to my physique. So taking the time off in 2023, what I didn't realize was the muscle that I did put on. So my stage weight for Olympia was 118 day of show, 118. For Ben Weeder, now Ben Weeder, I wasn't lean enough, but Ben Weeder's stage weight day of show was 126, 127. A few pounds off, but I'm still thinking like we're going to be low 120s if I really bring in the conditioning. And that's a few pound difference right there compared to what I was Olympia. So those times off important, and you do have to consider how they're going to affect your skills. And we're going off on a tangent a little bit here, but what I found was with the skills is if you go into that off season and you start slacking on your skill work, you kind of take too much time off as the weight's coming on. That's when they get hard. That's when they become more challenging. If you're still constantly training them, obviously decrease the volume or the like how frequent you're doing it. But even just like a couple times a week, making sure you're keeping up with the skills as you slowly put that weight on in the off season. Then I personally, I don't notice that big of a difference. It's when if I take a couple weeks off training skills and then I go back at it and I'm up, say 5 pounds, notice a massive difference. And it was like that as a gymnast too.
Another thing that you mentioned was like the two-thirds and the one-third kind of thing and how like it gets judged. Do you feel like that the work is very similar in that way, that two-thirds of the work is also on that and one-third of the work is on the physique? Or is it just, does one maybe complement the other one and so it kind of balances out? Or how does that play out?
I think again, it depends on the individual. So for me, I have 10-year experience, like past experience of gymnastics behind me. So the skill work and like that goes into the fitness routine and whatnot, like I did that for the first 10 years of my life. So when bodybuilders get into bodybuilding, um, they're working on their physique, right? And some might work for 5 years and get their pro card, and that's 5 years of work, right? Dedicated work to that, to gymnastics. Like that's 10 years of experience behind me already. So for me, I don't necessarily, yes, I'm still trying to up my skill level. I'm still trying to work on new skills to bring something better. Obviously, we always have to work on routine endurance because that's something that is lost so fast if you don't keep up with it. But for me, it's building my physique, especially I like being natural. It's even harder. So to try to keep up with some of these girls, I really need to put in the work, and that's the priority, is really trying to build this physique so that yeah, my routine's really strong. I do well in the routine round, but that 1/3 is still 1/3 of our points. So for me personally, like I do train my routine 1 to 2 times a week. I'll do skill work here and there, depending on my schedule. Like I'll throw in like a handstand session. On chest days, I'll do my plyo push-ups. So like little bits of skill work here and there. I wouldn't say it's a super long, intense practice, but 1 to 2 dedicated practices a week for a routine, where I might run through like 3 of each half or 2 full routines with a couple skill work, that sort of thing. So no, not crazy repetition, but then with the weight training, I'm doing weights 5 times a week, like split
Right.
body parts, that sort of thing. So I definitely more days are prioritized on weight training.
At what point in your prep, I guess, do you go from like practicing the routine to get it down versus practicing it to like to remember it versus practicing it to like almost perfect it or to, continue to grow your stamina in it?
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
For sure. So I'll spend when I first started, I was brutal. Like I didn't do full routines till like 2 weeks out. Like I would just do halves, like on repeat. But the last couple years, I've put a lot more work into the endurance because I really try to bring like a high energy routine throughout. Like I really, my goal is always to finish my routine, like even like if I can, stronger than the beginning. Because that's where a lot of girls will die out, and it's noticeable. So if I can keep that energy throughout, that just helps me stand out as much as I can. So with that being said, I'll choreograph as early as I can, keeping up with the routines throughout the year. So having shows or guest performances just to keep me on check, making sure I'm constantly training it. But I'll do just a lot of halves. So I'll split the routine in half. I'll run through each half like 3 times with like short breaks in between. I might do like the first half, and then I might do like 2 or 3 sets of my push-up sequence right after. So while I'm tired, I might do another thing I've done a lot is I'll do the first half, and then I'll do say like 10 sprints down like I do my routine on like a turf, where like they'll do like sled pushes. So I'll do my routine, and then I'll do like 10 sprints back and forth just to completely exhaust myself. And then full routines, they might start anywhere from like 4 to 6 weeks out. Because again, I'm only training them full out. I would say full out 1 time a week, and then I'll take that other practice and still do halves, still do some more endurance work, that sort of thing. Because I think it's also important, like skill execution is important. So like I like to, yeah, I want the skill execution in the full out routine, but you're also always you're pretty tired. So I want to make sure that I'm hitting skills consistently as well. So while I'm fresh and while I'm tired. So there's that constant improvement.
Looking at the Arnold's coming up, what do you think it is about the show? Whether it be the one in Columbus or the one in the UK, like both of those very prestigious. Uh, I mean, obviously, when you look at a show like the Olympia, there's the obvious like allure of you are crowned as the Miss or Mr. whatever, right? So in that sense, it seems obvious, like it's almost like the big game. It's like the championship of it in a way. But when you're looking at the Arnold, like what is it for you in particular? And maybe just from people that you've maybe talked to about it, other athletes who are going or have been there before, what's really the allure of like this show is so cool to be at and to perform at?
Yeah, there's 2 things that stand out to me. So one, when you think bodybuilding, especially to the average person, because a lot of people aren't very familiar with the sport, when you think bodybuilding, a lot of people immediately think Arnold, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like he's just the face, like he's a big face of our sport. He is. So, it's just really cool just knowing that he's there, knowing that he's watching, like that it's his show. It's this big event that so many amazing athletes have stepped on that stage. That's one reason why I think it's just so prestige. But the second, I think, is because it's the only shows, like the Arnold Classics are the only shows that are invite only. So like you were handpicked out of how many people applied to step on that stage, which is a complete honor. Whereas obviously the Olympia is the biggest honor and you have to win a show to get there. But it, like the past couple Olympias, like there's been a lot of athletes on that stage. Like some, like my category, not so much. Like there was still like around 20, maybe just under 20. But you see like some of the other classes like men's physique or bikini, and they've got like over 60, 80 athletes, right? Whereas the Arnold Classic, there's 12 selected per division. So it's 12, that's it. It's smaller, like, again, it's the invite only just makes it that much more special. Like, so.
It's kind of cool too. I think it really goes to show, maybe potentially at least, that there is maybe a long-term vision, not just like we're doing it for this show, but we're looking maybe a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead into like why we're selecting these athletes now. So I think that could be kind of a cool way to look at it too.
Sure, for sure. I'm sure they take a bunch of different things into consideration when choosing. And I'm sure it's not easy. Like it's probably not easy on them.
So what are some of the differences though for you looking at the Arnold Classic and the Arnold Classic in the UK? What are some of the different things that you're looking forward to?
For the USA Arnold, I'm really excited because I actually did the show as an amateur 5 years ago. So back in 2019, I did it as an amateur and it was an unreal experience. Just the expo alone, like that expo is absolutely massive. The stage was phenomenal. Like the whole experience, phenomenal. It was such a well-run show. I just remember everything was on time, in check. Like you didn't stress about anything. And when after competing on that stage, I was like, the next time I'm coming back here, I want to be stepping on the stage as a pro. So it's just really cool to come full circle. Like that's already 5 years ago. And now we're finally stepping back on the stage, this time as a pro, like amongst the best of the best. So I'm really looking forward to that show. And it's really nice because it's only about like just under 6 hour drive for me. So instead of flying, I'm actually going to drive. Some of my friends are coming down, like my parents are coming down. So it's nice because like I actually have friends and family that can come watch in person, which is really meaningful as well, especially for my first one. So that's awesome. The UK one. So this one is exciting. I haven't traveled in a while, just like honestly since before COVID. Besides like to different states or provinces to compete, but outside of North America, I have not traveled in a very, very long time. So this is exciting. This is going to be the furthest I've ever traveled for a show. And I'm also going alone. One of my friends might come with me, but for right now, I'm going alone. So I think it's going to be a really cool experience. Just competing wise, it's going to be a new challenge. There's going to be other factors I got to plan ahead for. Just a whole new experience. And I'm really looking forward to it. Just, again, it's an incredible opportunity, and now it's an excuse for me to travel and see stuff after. So it's really cool that like my passion and something I love can like take me somewhere there. Like, you know what I mean? I haven't planned it all yet, but my plan is I'm going to arrive there a couple of days early just because the time change and everything. So it's in Birmingham. So I'm going to stay in Birmingham for the first couple days. Show day, we compete on the Friday. I'm going to stay for Saturday because that's when the day 2 of competition is. And then Sunday, my plan is probably going to take a train down to Brighton, which is right on the water. And then obviously I have to check out London while I'm there. So Brighton is about a 3-hour train ride. And then I think London is about maybe an hour, just under an hour, from Brighton. So I'll probably stay in Brighton just because it's a bit cheaper than staying in London, and then, travel into London for at least a full day, just to experience as much as I can. The trip, or when the Arnold's is, because it's very hard for me with school because we have to make, like, there's a mandatory that we have to make 90% of our classes. So it's like, that means we can miss like 2 or 3 maybe 3 classes a semester. That's it. Now, because it's a professional event, they usually will, if I have documentation, they'll let it slide. They've been pretty good with that, which is nice. But with the Arnold UK, it's on March break and we have that week off. So that whole week leading up to the show, I have off school, that's why I applied. I was like, this is fate. I have to apply. It's like, it's a sign. I have to do it. And then I'm going to take a few days after. So I'll probably miss like 2 days of school. So it's nice, like just over a week trip, and I'm only going to miss 2 days of school. So it works out really nice.
Are you doing anything a little bit different or unique, or is it pretty much like, let's go with what we know works, or what's that look like?
I've been off school now. This is my 5th week off school. So we don't get summers off. So over the Christmas break, we get 5 weeks off, and that's like our large time off. So I've really tried to utilize this time to literally train, eat, sleep, obviously work a little bit, but I'm not working too much. And just recover, like rest and recover. So that's very hard for me because I am typically like go, 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 which has honestly been very detrimental and hard on prep because when you're constantly in fight or flight, one, it's hard on digestion, so your digestive system's off. And then two, you're not able to get maximum recovery. So even like my sleep sometimes with school, like I'm sleeping just in order to get everything that needs to be done in a day, cardio, training, everything. Sometimes I'm only sleeping 6 hours a night, which I can function off of here and there, but if you're doing that multiple times a week or every day, your body will start to notice. And I actually like the scale will all be dropping weight and all of a sudden it'll just plateau and then it might start going up in weight, even though I might be adding more cardio, might be dieting harder and the weight's just going up because my body's stressed. So those little things. So right now, yeah, utilizing rest, recovery as much as possible. I've been utilizing the sauna a lot more. Just stretching, foam rolling, just utilizing those things that sometimes do get neglected. We do always make time for them, but sometimes not as much as I would ideally like. And yeah, just checking the boxes, doing as much as we can right now just to get it as far as ahead as I possibly can, because when school hits, I know I'm going to take a little bit more of a toll with stress. And I'm not going to get as much rest. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
Do you utilize any technology as far as like an Aura ring or a Whoop band or anything like that to track any metrics?
I don't like I have my Apple Watch, so like this thing it tracks all my exercise, so I know like consistently day to day like approximately how many calories I'm burning and what like that those things, but I keep hearing about this Aura ring and it does seem like a really cool investment, especially because my friend has one and it like tells you like when you're about to be sick and your like your sleep percentage, like how the quality of your sleep and things like that. So then that honestly could be very beneficial as a bodybuilder because if it's telling you where your body's at, like stress wise, and telling you, okay, your sleep quality is going down, like maybe I need to take 2 days off the gym. And I have, because I've been a very stubborn athlete in the past. I don't like to miss the gym, but I've been better at listening to my body, and I will start to. It's cool too. The coach I have right now, he even will start to notice. So I do weigh myself every day. I don't recommend that for everybody. Not everyone, like sometimes mentally they can't do that. For me, I look at it as like a scientific thing. I like to see like the day to day and be able to look back at it. So like in my notes, like I literally have, I think I started in May this year. So like from May all the way till now, like I have like pretty much every single day. And it was cool. So like the last couple days I was at like, I'll just say my weight. I was at like around 134. This was like maybe 2 weeks ago. We changed the diet plan, dropped down to about 132, was holding that, got down to like 131 was like the low, and then it was holding like 132 for a couple days. And my weight plateaus very fast. And then it started going up. It started going like it was like 133. Not by much, so it's a pound difference, but then it was 133, 133. And I'm telling you, like to the like point. So like it was like the last couple days, it was like 133.6. 133.6 every morning. I'm like, how am I weighing the exact same? Like, it's crazy. So anyways, he ended up giving me 2 high days on the weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, increased carbs. Now, a couple months ago when I had first started with him, especially prepping for Ben Weider, when he gave me high days, I was like, are you sure? Like, I feel like I don't need this. Like, I don't think I should because I'm not used to having like high anyways. But today, so 2 days, so what's today? Tuesday, weight's back down to 131. So like it crazy, like just I increased food, like, and I was eating a good amount, like probably almost triple the amount of carbs, both in 2 days in a row. So, the weight was still at 133 yesterday, gave it another day, and we're back down to 131. Plus I had a rest day yesterday. So it's crazy how the body works. And especially like when you actually do like improve your sleep and you reap the benefits and you feel those benefits, it's like, I don't want to go. It's same with nutrition and bodybuilding. Like I love what I eat. Like obviously some higher carbs are nice, like not like right before a show, but I love the foods that I eat. And yes, I enjoy some like cheesecake and cookies and whatnot after the show, but then you feel like crap and you're like, okay, this is why I love the way I eat, because I feel so great. I have this mental clarity. And yeah, because you get so in tune with your body. So the same thing with the sleep. Like once you've like gotten a good sleep, like pattern down, rhythm down, whatever you want to call it, you notice when you don't have a good sleep. Like your body, like you can physically feel it, mentally feel it. So very
Mhm.
cool. Like even going back to the things like how like stretching or recovery isn't always prioritized by athletes. Like sleep is, for some people, probably not prioritized, but that's a huge component of recovery. And then your ability to train harder in the gym, because if you're not recovering, you're not maximizing your benefits. So like sleep's so important. The minerals, like stress depletes minerals. So especially if you're stressed from like work, relationships, your training stress, it's good stress from the training. But all that accumulation of stress from the environment, depleting the minerals, and then our food nowadays, it's not the soil that it's grown in is stripped of minerals. The food that we're eating, very low in minerals compared to even just 5-10 years ago. It's getting worse and worse. So it's, if we're stressing and we're depleting all these minerals, like how are you replenishing them? And it's the minerals that are needed to allow your body to function. All these enzymatic activities that are going on in your body are fueled by the minerals. So huge component that I think a lot of people miss. And yeah, we supplement whatnot, but making sure you're supplementing with the right things, and your electrolytes are balanced. That's a huge one too, especially if you're training lots, you're sweating, again, depleting these electrolytes. And that's going to be a big component too.
Yeah, definitely. And I know after this, I'm probably going to go and dive into a rabbit hole of minerals and all that kind of stuff. So looking forward to that, and probably, read some books on it and stuff. But yeah, no, I really appreciate you coming on. It was a great chat with you, and best of luck in the next couple of weeks moving forward with your prep and, with your shows. I'm sure, we'll talk before then, but best of luck and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. This was awesome.
It was. And if you want to, before we head out, if you want to share any socials or anything like that, you can.
Okay, my Instagram is Abby Bolton _ IFBB Pro. And then I just want to give a shout out to some of my sponsors. So Devotee Wear, they're a athletic wear company, both men and women, based out of Vancouver, Canada. BioX Performance Nutrition, another Canadian company based out of Vancouver. Bolton 10 for the Devotee Wear, and then Bolton 15 for BioX. And then also KH Customs, your bikini suits for competing. So yeah, huge thank you to them because they've been unbelievable to me this past year.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.